Okay, let me do some housekeeping. How many of you attending this because you work with a mobile company? Show of hands. Right? So, okay. Okay, how many brand advertisers whom we call clients here? Okay, we got more. We thought there were going to be 5, and I'm so thankful. There's more than 5. I'm really happy.
So Madan, I want to clap for that.
Yeah. So I can also see, so mobile is all about location, right? And I can see all clients sitting towards the door. You know, so in the next 10 minutes, if you're not interesting enough, they just can sneak out, okay? So, Deepali, I'm looking at you. Okay. AdTech's always been a pleasure and been close to heart. I remember last year, same time, second day, I think around the same time was when the logo of the company that I represent was unveiled. So yeah, that's always been good, and always a good place to catch up here with. There's always a new company being launched, and this year, so many of them in mobile that you see coming up. I think that just shows how things are. And when Durga was making a point, I think it was so clear. I think I wanted her. I want to grab her presentation, probably show it to all advertisers, and say that yeah, this is what the youth of today is looking at. And but so much about the panel today. And with me, I have so this side is the technology entrepreneurs. Okay, so much about location. So Rohan Rohan represents a family of entrepreneurs who are in the location business and showing direction, literally. And what Anil with his company is doing is trying to make that location far more relevant for advertisers. Okay, Deepak and I started a long time back, and we did completely different things 17 years back when we started working together. And now Deepak is heading a global ad network with products which are fantastic from an advertiser perspective. We do business regularly, and I think that's still a good pleasure in doing that. Anisha represents a company, founded a company which creates platforms on which local business can be set up. And I think in all these parts, mobile has been playing an important role. And I'm sure when they speak, they'll probably explain their role that much more better. But my request to them earlier when we were working on the panel was also that this is a place we shed our identities as the companies we represent, and we talk about the big hero, which is mobile. Okay, and mobile to me, and before I open it to the panel, the mobile to me is more like a amoeba. It's this funny little element which sits under the digital category when it wants to, and and it's the best digital offshoot that you can think of. But when it wants to, it also nicely settles down in the traditional media. Because look at the things that you can do with a mobile phone while reading a newspaper, while watching TV, while being out and about, and all those malls that you go, and there's a lot of activation happening. There's so much work that mobile's adding onto that. So to me, it's more like a very smart device and can fit in anywhere and everywhere. Okay, and with that, I think. This AdTech is all about the lady power, and so Anisha, first point would be to you. Okay, tell me, when we're talking about mobile as a platform, how important is to look beyond the smartphone? So India is so much about non-smartphone usage. Okay, and from that perspective, are we investing in a business, or are we investing in business which is probably not going to last 2 years later, and hence doesn't need to, why feature phone at all? Internationally, if you see that, they probably don't even understand that, hey, there's a community of people using feature phone, and what would they do? And is feature phone the pager of the if I had to give that as an example, and smartphones are going to be the mobile, so pages are anyway going to be outdated soon. So why create platforms that would help anybody when you're not going to sustain it? So, anything that you could add on to that?
So the way, we work with a lot of businesses, we work with local businesses, we work with brands. And the way I think everybody's looking at it now is not smartphones or feature phones like we discussed earlier, but more about the reach. What is the reach that they're getting? What is it? I don't think anybody's looking at platforms any longer and saying, we're looking at well, actually, a lot of you guys do a lot of smartphone work, but I think if you look at a brand side, they're just concerned more about the reach. We work with, we do a lot of stuff on USSD, which is the lowest common denominator in terms of advertising, and it reaches everyone. And you'd be surprised to see the reach that's coming to us from the tier 2, tier 3 towns on that. And I don't think I think smartphone people are accessing it and feature phone people are accessing it. So it's both. It's just, it gives us the maximum reach.
In terms of future timeline, how long do you think that will sustain a business? Do you think we'll still talk about that 2 years later? And does it make sense?
You know what? I definitely know that for this year and going into at least a year and a half, this is not changing. USSD, people pulled about 2 billion messages just off one operator. And that's crazy numbers that you're looking at. I mean, and I know the growth of smartphones become really huge suddenly, and we're all talking about it, we're really excited about it. But fact of the matter is, when you look at the numbers that we're doing there are staggering. So I don't think a year it's going to equally balance it out. Maybe 3 years from now.
Okay. So interesting. And the topic started for us was more like dumb or smart. And I'm like, mind was shut. There's nothing dumb about it, right? We're talking about a smart product here. And how could you have a topic saying dumb or smart? In our mind, I think there's no debate. And I think as an audience, there is no debate in terms of whether it's a dumb or a smart. It's definitely smart. And I think to define smartphone, I remember Shiv of Nokia once, I think on similar platform, talking about there's nothing like a smartphone. There is, every phone is smart as long as it allows the user to do what he or she intends to do, and that makes the phone smart. The technology in the phone will keep on changing, but the smartness of the device depends on how it is used. So, Anil, clearly, we talk about advertising, and the age-old thing that we learned in college was the best thing about advertising was location, location, location. Okay, and it's hitting us now in a completely different way, right? Do you think there's a market where advertisers really care about location based? Because I still see so much. We all still see so much money being spent on opportunities where you really don't know the location of the person, and that still seems to be working. Why would one go and try to create a business out of something? And so, of course, it makes business sense when you look at it from this side of the table. But from an advertiser perspective, where do you think it can add value? And maybe I'll also add to the question that I asked. Would you still concentrate more on smartphone, or would you look at the market outside of it as well?
Thanks. So I think just to answer to the smartphone and the feature phone question, I think the line is very thin today, between the smartphone and feature phone. And we increasingly get requests actually from brands and advertisers that they want a lot more smartphone users because it seems to be a lot more engaging and it seems to be a lot more transaction oriented. But having said that, the mass today still in India is feature phones. So the technology or the product has to be designed in a way that it actually caters to both the segments, the smartphone and the feature phone segment. So, and probably 3 years down the line, smartphones may become more important, but today it's just less than 10%. So, if you want to capture those 90-odd%, it's very important that you have a feature phone strategy. Location, the key differentiator between a mobile device and I would say a laptop or an internet device is actually location. And that's the biggest differentiating factor. So if you're not leveraging location, you're not leveraging the power of mobile. So it's highly important to use location. It's not, when we think about location, it's not simple as, okay, I know this user, so here is an ad. It's a lot beyond that. Its location could be used for, the context, what's around the user. Location could be used for behavior, where the users have been. For example, you could actually map out this user has been traveling between cities or spending a lot of time in airports and stuff like that. So he's probably a traveler. So actually, you have a segment of travelers based on the location behavior aspect, right? So location is not just about knowing where the user is currently. It could be used a lot deeply and to target in a very efficient and superior way. So yeah, location is very
On that note, Rohan, I mean, there's one thing to use location for advertising, but how is location getting more important for businesses to take larger decisions as to, so where do I start? Where is my next office or next store going to be? Is, I think that's the space you've been, and how do you think that's helping your clients maybe?
Thanks a lot for having me for this talk. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the fact that we're talking about integrated marketing and in the context of mobile, basically the businesses start at the planning stage when they're entering the market, say India. Where should I open up my outlets? Which are the places which have the highest addressable market? So where are the high-income people? Where are the dense population within cities? So we've seen a lot of brands, a lot of companies in the offline space looking for site selection. So be it the Pizza Huts or the Walmarts or the petrol pump companies, figure out which location should they have their outlets in based on what's the catchment going to be around in terms of reach of population or specific demographics. That's phase one. And I think the phase two that they're trying to do after that, after they've invested in terms of creating that physical location infrastructure where they're going to sell their products, is to drive users or customers to those outlets. Because finally, it's the number of people you can get to walk into your store who you can then convert into a customer, either the first time or in terms of repeat. And I think that's where mobile is an amazing thing, because using mobile, first of all, you can target people based on where they are, but then you can also measure how many people you've been able to get to where you want them to come. And I think that's the interesting piece where if mobile publishers or mobile advertising technology companies can offer those kinds of solutions to advertisers, because I know that every CEO, be it of a FMCG company or selling to rural India or to urban India, wants to know where his market is and wants to be able to drive that market to his stores. And I think that's the interesting piece that's happening in integrated marketing, which is being taken to the next level now with mobile.
Thanks, Rohan. So obviously, Deepak, next question would be to you. And let me twist this around. So now that we know there are more than 5 clients, and so how do we get them to spend more on mobile? I mean, we clearly know it's got location. We know the device is always on, always next to you, works with traditional media as effectively as it works on its own. And so in spite of this, all these features, less than 1% of budgets, less than 10% of digital budgets. And so let's cut the crap. Let's come to the real point. So how do we get them to spend more on digital, on mobile specifically?
Good question. Yeah. Basically, when we talk to brand marketers, and let me echo this through my meetings with conversations with brand managers. So first problem, which I deal with is the client is wanting to understand the entire mobile landscape. Yeah. There is noise about what we just spoke about. The feature phone, smartphone market. How can they view the world at? So at a base level, I think it's about learnings in the first place. Yeah. I correlate that in terms of their ability to spend in mobile, their intent is very high. Now, translating that intent into a transaction, that's where you have steps involved with understanding. That's one part. Someone goes out and helps them understand that part. All that is also dealt with details linked with the overall mobile landscape in the country, how people are browsing, what is this consumer really doing. So we spend a lot of time evangelizing, I would say that transferring all the data points which help the marketer understand the mobile landscape. That's the first part of it. Step 2 is really about as they get a good understanding about this audience which is browsing on the phone, step 2 is really about how can they engage with these users. What should they do? How should they do that? Do they have partners which can support them to do that? So in that ecosystem, I definitely see, whilst the learning part is done easily, you can put together a 20-slide presentation and put out 2-3 hours with a brand and say, this is the learning curve, guys. But getting down from the learning curve to the execution part is where we see challenges. I think brand marketers need solution providers around them. They need to spend a lot of time with those solution providers to execute things. That's the second step there. And I think that is where it is right now. That is where it's kind of slowing down, if you really ask me. Obviously, it is also linked with the fact that does the market, overall, all people in the room, all of us have great intent. Yeah, plenty of people would have great intent on embracing mobile advertising. Do they have talents within their teams? Can their second level, can their third level people have built those capabilities or not, so that what you think you can do, the execution is in line with that. Yeah, so that is where, in cases where marketers have solved this very well, step 1, step 2, there is no stopping for those guys to spend. We work globally with many partners. There are many people in India we work with. So the market is kind of skewed to the amount of efforts which teams have put in making that happen.
So Anisha, so one part of your business is creating the platform. The other part is also reaching out to people. And so the advertiser part of you, how much are you dependent on mobile today, and what are the things that have best worked for you? And how many of your the store partners have come back and say, mobile's what driving most amount of purchases?
All right, so just real quick background, because for anybody who doesn't know, we work on internet and mobile. So it's an interesting mix. And when we started doing mobile, it was actually, like Deepak said, it was very tough convinced to tell the marketers that let's start doing that. And I mean brands as well, the bigger brands as well as the small businesses, that look at mobile as an alternative to marketing. And we do mobile coupons for them. So there is a call to action. You actually have to buy the coupon and pull it down. So these are actually interested users. Initially, the planning, when it came, was not so in terms of the local advertisers as well as the bigger brands. It was very upfront and no, we're not sure, things like that. We actually have everybody now calling in. We work with about 75,000 odd businesses, and we have so many of the businesses coming back and actually fighting for the mobile space, oddly enough. Not the people who've been there are extremely aggressive on it because they understand. See, for us, we work with a lot of services businesses, which means it's really on the go. So you want a CCD, cafe, coffee, day, coffee, you want it now. You want pizza, you want to eat something, you want it now. And so mobile works as a really good medium for all the just-in-time stuff. And so we've really seen the conversions extremely high on that. As far as reach, it's given us more of a reach because we work with all the operators as well. And marketers love that. So we're seeing a lot of the conversions happen via mobile now.
And how do you use mobile as an advertising tool? What part has worked for you in terms of that?
So we white label our platform for telcos, which means we reside within all the operators as their mobile couponing loyalty solution. What we do is essentially pull up stuff on analytics based on, so if I know that Madan's coming in and he's really, he keeps buying from Saket and he's buying restaurants, we'll start showing you more restaurants, or we'll start showing you different brands that are on our advertising platform that come up front based on your buying patterns. So that's how we do it, which is kind of white label. But on, the internet side, it's a no-brainer, right? We can slice that data whichever way we want.
So point I picked up is the fast food segment. That's one segment that's working and very obviously working very well on mobile. And I think the Zomato news just happened in the last 24 odd hours, and it's clearly showing which direction the market's moving on to. But that's not the end of it. I know another e-commerce site, not fully mobilized, and it caters to pregnant women and to young mothers. So women with kids to the age of 5 to 6 years. And even for them, about 35% of their sales purchases are driven by mobile. Okay, so that's the key segment here as well. Anil, in spite of all this, I think when you talk about hyper-local targeting, okay, now this is one part where we go and put the plank very high with advertisers and say that, what mobile can do, like tell you exactly where the person is and pinpoint, and you can make an offer then and there. The client says, yeah, okay, let's do business, and then that's the moment we have to take one step back and say, hey, sorry, let me come back. And so when do we start? When do we get empowered on that? When is the point when we would actually go back to client and say, yeah, hyperlocal targeting plan, and this is how it is, and you know what, it's effective, it's working. What are the challenges, and how are we going to tackle that? What's the time do you think it's going to take?
See, hyperlocal targeting works very well for certain industries, and so this is because hyperlocaling, is in real-time targeting, right? So you are here. and there is something near you, so there's some action has to be taken in real time. So it works. I mean, we have seen that it works very well for like auto industry. It works for the QSR industry. It works very well for the retail industry. So because it's doing two things. What it's doing is, first of all, it's increasing the visible reach of the store. So let's say there's a quick service restaurant, and it needs to actually, the visible reach is just 50 meters or 100 meters, right? But on mobile, actually you're able to draw a geofence and able to increase this visible reach to 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers. So first of all, you're increasing your visible reach. The second thing that you're doing is you're actually driving foot traffic by increasing the visible reach. So, which means you need to have a retail store or retail presence. So the industries that it works really well for are actually these industries who have a retail presence or a store, right? So it works really well for them. The other aspect is what I was telling earlier, is that hyper-local as such, when you talk about location, in advertising, it need not be always hyper-local. It could be, it could be just like, increasing efficiency in targeting, right? For example, you don't want to target an entire city, you just want to target a region of the city, or you just want to target, 15 cities in India, right? Because that's where the consumers are. So you're actually increasing efficiency in targeting and, taking care of the spillage kind of thing. So it could be used in various ways. So it depends on the industry that is there, and you need to solutionize for each of these industries and see that how, how it fits well for some of these.
Yeah, I think this is obviously a space that I'm pretty passionate about. I think the holy grail is that if I'm standing here, some store is nearby, let me get a message saying that, offer right now, walk in. I think we want to get there as advertisers and as an industry, because I think this is the most efficient way of reaching out to the relevant audience. But I think we've got to take a few steps, because in India we tend to leapfrog landline to mobile and things like that, but there are some foundations we've got to follow. The audience is not necessarily, the customer base is not necessarily standing outside your store. So the first is that you need to inform people where your stores are. And for that, a lot of brands have started to put basic things like store locators on their website. But I think increasingly they've got to figure out that if the mobile web traffic is going up, then they've got to have these similar store locators on mobile web. I think the second piece is people talk about closing the loop in marketing. That's how internet to mobile is really useful or measurable, because it closes the loop on actually who is the person that you targeted. So in terms of, if you're showing a store locator, are you actually driving somebody to that location? Are you giving him the directions to that place? Is he actually looking for that and then finally stopping at your outlet? So that's piece number 2 that advertisers can start making sure that they're offering. I think then the third piece kicks in, where really the usage of mobile can start taking off, is when a lot of people are comfortable in terms of knowing where the stores are and they're comfortable using directions to reach stores. That's when you start taking these big publishers out there, wherever people are spending their time on the mobile web, using technologies that are available, target those people when they're nearby a location and start saying things like, if you're walking for the first time, you'll get this kind of offer. If you walk in for the 5th time, you'll get this kind of offer, and things like that. So I think this is, as with most things on the internet, advertisers went through a journey of increased usage. On mobile also, they'll have to go through this journey of increased usage, but basically, it'll end up being way more efficient spend. So at MapMyIndia, as an advertiser, because we sell GPS devices out there through 1,500 stores across the country, and we're looking at ways to reach out to car owners, the 20 million car owners that are out there. So yeah, we would spend on a TV campaign, but at the same time, we'd look at what are the ways on the internet to reach out our target audience, and increasingly, what are the ways on mobile, especially the iPad owners or the Samsung Galaxy Note owners, not necessarily in our perspective, from our product point of view, the feature phone owners, but we are looking as an advertiser at the same premise, that how do I drive traffic to not just my online store, but the 1,500 stores where my product sells through. And we're going through that journey. It's not like we are doing all these things that I'm talking about today, but I think if all brands go through these journeys, basically you can maximize the reach efficiently.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. So since we were always the stepchild, because we never took money up front, we always were pay for performance. One of the things that Rohan talked about is how do you close the loop? That was the first thing we were asked. It was not only were we not charging any marketer up front, we were being asked to track redemptions. And so one of the things that we ended up, and hence mobile became an integral part, because we figured it was an easier way to do quicker redemptions as well. And so one of the things that we started doing was loyalty, and actually an adjunct into my business, which only came about after this, which is trying to help brands and merchants close the loop on couponing or on any offer or any advertising that they do. And so it isn't, one of the things that he's right, we're going to have to start addressing, because every brand, everyone keeps coming back to this, is how do I track the ROI? What is it that is going to help me close that loop?
So,
So,
Deepak,
just one point before Madan asks me, or yeah. So just one comment about the location part. So I just want to kind of take a step back out here. That guys, from a marketer point of view, if you look at mobile advertising and you're dealing with the subject of location, most times we get clouded with the thought that hyper local is from where I need to start my mobile advertising activities. That's an absolutely wrong starting point, guys. The first starting point is when you look at mobile advertising, you say, okay, I've got my products. My products today, can I target at a broader level? Just to make things simpler, can I target users down in Tamil Nadu, as a complete circle? Answer is yes. You can cut your marketing campaigns for states, because that's how many, marketing guys plan their calendar. They look at markets. They really look at where they want to do a product launch for their new product. They look at festives. They look at cultural dynamics. In which seasons, which markets do customers are going to make purchases. Yeah. So one point I want to highlight is there is something which is called circle targeting or state targeting. That's one. Now you take the second step. You say within the circle, what my products need to be marketed to users in top 18 cities or top 50 cities, or I want to target 150 cities. That's the second step, of location. Yeah. Third level of depth within location, to bring in clarity there, is something which we call home location of your user. Yeah. Today, for example, when we serve ads, because we've done a deeper relationship with a carrier, and carriers are billing users. So carriers know the home location of this user. So fundamentally, from a marketer point of view, home location to me is very important, guys, because that's where over the weekend I realize that the proximity of this person, around this area, in a larger city like Delhi or in Bombay, home location matters, because there are cities within cities right now. Yeah. If I'm living in suburbs, I know there is a very remote possibility for me to go in a different part of. So that's the third part of location. Yeah. And then comes your hyper local targeting, which is to do with the proximity part. I think we are far away from, in terms of leveraging, so first you have to take the first 2-3 steps, yeah, because that's where you will get scale right now, yeah. That's where you will fix your learnings. That's where you will know what is working, what kind of, it's not about we coming to you saying that, dude, we allow you to do targeting. Okay, that's one part of it. It's just a means to that goal. How you do it, is the customer really receptive to your offer on the mobile phone? Is your page appropriate or not? Is your pitch in the right place? Have you timed your offering at the right time? So those learnings need to be kind of tackled first, and that's when you kind of move.
My
to
question was
hyperlocal.
actually linked to that. So is it the same classic case that digital has been facing, where suddenly you have so much of information that information becomes deterrent to the medium? So here's mobile, and just because it can do everything, every time you expand, like Anisha was saying, it's not about the deal, but finally, how do you measure the ROI? So, there's about 90% of the budgets in this country which go without any, I won't say any level of ROI, but without the most important aspects of ROI.
So
whereas
I think
this part gets completely scrutinized.
correct. So I think there, I would just say that leaders in their own teams, managers in their own teams need to constantly convey to their teams that don't get carried away with the most coolest or the latest, feature in the room or in the market. Yeah. Every new feature, guys, understand that part. Every new technology feature which gets introduced, the real use of that takes over a couple of years. So like, if you ask a technology guy, let me quote an example, here. If you ask a technology guy, a business guy having an interaction with a technology guy saying, dude, why don't you develop this? The technology guy first tells him that, what is the real use of it? Is this going to be utilized by lots of people today, or will it be utilized 6 months down the line, 9 months down the line? So I think the responsibility lies with people in the room or people who are doing this activity, not to kind of, focus on smaller or points which could be, very cool or sexy to speak about, but, they don't lend you scale. They don't make the impact. They don't help you close the loop. Yeah.
So I think a very important point, and I think my understanding has also been that while mobiles looked at a very cool aspect, okay, but when you look at the assets that most brands have, okay, and you realize that there's nothing from a mobile perspective. So here's one medium which is crying out loud, and probably 95% of the brands don't even have a mobile optimized site. Okay. Now, so Anil, this is going to be more challenge. I mean, I think the bigger challenge is, here's a medium. Everybody agrees. Everybody uses. All the marketing people understand, and there's nobody in this forum who would not agree the role of mobile. And look at the investment of time and effort in creating your assets, which are more whatever, mobile friendly. I mean, look at the work done by Make My Trip or Indigo or Cleartrip. I think gold class. But beyond that, very few brands. I mean, how many brands would actually get into creating their own assets in mobile? And I think till the time that doesn't happen, forget integrated marketing. A mobile-specific strategy is going to be lacking. And it's more of a point of view, not a question. But how would you think, say, an advertiser can tackle this? How can somebody leapfrog and have assets ready in mobile faster?
So to add to that, actually, the worst thing that an ad campaign can do is actually send a click to a web page, right? Because that doesn't lead to anything. So web page is not actually required. Like my colleague was telling, actually what is required here is, so you click on an ad and then post that. The engagement of that could be actually done in a simple landing page, which could be redeeming coupon, or redeeming the QR code, using the QR code, or finding the route to reach the store, or calling the retail store, or calling the advertiser. So for these actions, all you need is one landing page, or maybe two landing pages. You don't. So what you could do is, because what are you effectively gaining by sending them to a web page? Just reading some information which is very small font and not even clear actually on mobile, right? So effectively, that's not required at all. For you to leverage the power of mobile, or you could just get quickly with a campaign, have a landing page which has few of these buttons that actually helps in engaging with the user, and you're on. So it's very straightforward. It's there.
I wish we had more time, because then I could debate with you on that. It's like clearly a short-term strategy and not necessarily a long-term. But I understand
if you have an extensive transaction-oriented app or a web site, it's very good, right? But it's not really required. For you to redeem a coupon, you could actually just click like redeem coupon, you get a coupon, and you just show it.
So your focus is basically make it easy, make it simple. It's not
yes.
some holy grail.
Unless you want to because so what is the end objective? You want to sell a product over mobile? Then it's a different case, right? Then you need an entire website which actually takes you to the shopping cart, and then completes the transaction, and has a payment gateway integrated. That's a different game, right? But you don't need all that.
So my point, and more in defense of what I was saying earlier, and more to debate on that. So much of social media sharing is today on phones,
yes.
right? I mean, I'm assuming that most people right now who are on their phones are tweeting about stuff we are saying. Okay, I might be wrong, but a lot of it is today on mobile. Okay, and when people receive it, it's on mobile. Okay, and most of the time when you click on those links, it opens on a web page which just doesn't give you the best experience.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I don't think so. That's where the short-term strategy will work. So unless
Yeah, yeah.
unless your ecosystem is clearly marked towards mobile, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
Okay, I can see Rohan dying to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I actually get what both of you are saying. The point is, of course, people have to think mobile because you can't, and just on the internet, the way you have a good website, you might also have a good landing page for a particular ad campaign. So I think it's important from a evolutionary point of view to have a good mobile optimized website, app, and all that related content and assets. I think this is a given if you want to be present in the mobile generation of users who are going to click through a link on Facebook or a link on Twitter. I think it's equally important to have a mobile optimized advertising strategy, which is not necessarily driving somebody to a website, but it is to driving them towards an actionable landing page, whatever you want to call it, where then you can start measuring the action. So I totally buy the point of Deepak that, look, the point of mobile or why it's interesting to advertisers is not because you can do hyperlocation targeting just. The point of mobile is there are 600 million out there who you can target, and they're everywhere, and they could potentially be your customer. That's point one why we should be excited about mobile. But I think equally it's important once you've targeted them, once you've reached them, what are you doing with that? On the internet, why this Google became so big is because everybody could click through your website and you can measure. Well, on mobile, you can do even much more. You don't have to just wait to somebody click on a web page and that's it, but you can actually drive him to your store and see what kind of transaction he's doing the first time. You can do loyalty kind of stuff. Is he coming back again and again? And I think that's the power of mobile that advertisers need to start leveraging. And they're going to go through this evolution of, and I mean, there'll be some people who'll do it better, and there'll be some people who'll do it later. But eventually, everybody has to do it. So.
A quick one point to debate on that.
No, I actually, so I think you're going to be outnumbered on this panel, Madan, because even I agree on this. I mean, what Anil said was true, that you can't actually have somebody land up on a website where there's no actionable. So I agree with this completely. You asked me before we walked in how many of the e-commerce sites you work with. We work with all of them on the internet, but what's the use of taking somebody to a website where I know the user's not going to transact? At the end of the day, every e-commerce site is going to ask me transactions kitna diya at the end of the day, right? And so I'll bill on my site because we have operator billing, but I know that the likelihood of somebody taking out the credit card and transacting on the internet is more than them going to the website and running it through the process is just, so it's not, I don't think it stops at just having a mobile optimized site. I think there is a step after this for a lot of the businesses, especially the online businesses, which is not being done, which is how do you get them to transact? Where is the conversion happening?
So let me just balance the point out here. So I think, to echo everyone's point, what we are saying here is that there are goals which are linked with immediate action points, which are related, like, let me put it this way. When I read an ad in Bombay Times or in Delhi Times over a weekend, there are plenty of ads which come and say, guys, there's a X percentage off, or this is a movie getting released, so on and so forth. These are items which are directly linked with needs which you can fulfill or you can transact with there. That's one part of communication. There are, on the other side, there are needs which are linked with, okay, I as a brand, I'm an FMCG brand, how do I emotionally build mindshare with the user? How do I take them into an environment which, I'm not looking at transactions there, yeah? My goal is not transactions, yeah? So with those kind of needs, obviously you need to convey your story, correct? You need to invite the guy into a zone or a page. From there, you weave him into a story, and finally you get him to experience something, yeah, which leaves a mindshare impact on him, which creates a positive emotional quotient, which delivers that, yeah. In those cases is where you need richer engagements, whilst in cases where the goals are very different, linked with a transaction or with trying to close the loop as quickly as possible. Yeah.
So as much as we're enjoying the debate here, just about time to throw it open to the audience. And yeah, so do me a favor, somebody please hand him a mic. Please introduce yourself and point your question to the particular panelist.
Hello. My name is Narayan Murthy. I work with VSurf. Actually, I'm with Madan and his logic on the panel. My question to all the others, especially Anisha and Anil, who said,
And
brand-
definitely not to
Definitely
Deepak,
not
right?
to my
you
boss.
can catch
so-
up with him offline. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question to all the other panels is, what about all the generation? See, unfortunately, your logic is comparing or taking learnings from web and putting it onto mobile. In my opinion, that's unfair to the mobile medium. Mobile is a different animal. We need to deal it differently. So the question that to you both especially is, what about all the generation of new users who are coming onto online via the mobile route? They have not been, or they're not exposed to the experience of online and transacting online and doing a lot of things online. Just because of the fact that mobile gets you ease of closing the loop, that does not mean that you're ignoring all the other set of users who are coming on board just via the mobile as a medium.
We're purely talking now transactions, right? On this one. We're not talking brands who are just doing the feel good, which I wish every brand told us, okay, oh, I just want to feel good about myself and do reach. No, but fair enough. So now, you know what? It's not about the users. You're right. Actually, I am hopefully one of those users that I only do mobile internet. It's very rare that you catch me, you know, on a laptop. I'll rarely go there if I need to. But fact of the matter is, I'm not. The convenience of closing the loop. It's not about the user. You're right. The user wants to close the loop. The convenience of closing the loop is much faster when it comes to the internet than the mobile. I'm more. It's very rare that somebody would. If we had mobile payments, just take off. I'm the first one to tell you, boss, wo chalta hai. It's going to happen. But the fact of the matter is, it's easier closing the loop on the internet than going inputting the credit card info now. With PCI DSS certificate, yes, it's become easier, but it's not that easy. I wish mobile payments had taken off and were operator billing was a common phenomenon. Then yes, mobile internet, I think we'd see the loop closed, you know, a lot more easily.
No, I agree with you. Just to add to that, I think it's not about. I think there's nothing here about moving the learnings from internet to mobile. Let's take mobile as an independent medium, and let's try to see what are the strengths of that medium. So I think, like my colleague said, I think it's very important. What's missing is the transaction piece, right? What's largely missing is just not operator billing, but it's simple things like in-app payment itself, right? So once that is sorted out, I think it's
So
different.
it says time up, but I have to hand it over to Deepali because she stayed back the entire session. So
Only because of that. No, so I kind of agree with Maddie too that, sorry, my name is Dipali. I work with L&T Insurance. I kind of agree with Maddie too on this one. I mean, is it that you guys are going to wait till the mobile payments take off and not do meanwhile anything? So you should, and here's my question to you guys. One is that give us examples of how internationally where mobile payment mechanisms, Africa, for example, is quite advanced in this space, how they're doing it so that we're kind of ready for the future as brand marketers. And second is, if mobile agencies want marketers to put more money into the, mobile space out of the digital spends that they have, then come and talk those solutions to us. If you want to tell us that currently, do it only for brand building or do it only for frequency building or, and don't look at it really from the other tracking mechanisms, then, like we spend 90% of our monies on television where we don't really track one-on-one, then come and tell us that. Because I think somewhere the expectation building of it, tracking is built by the mobile agencies, and I think that's where they need to take a step back and say, okay, hang on, just do this much experiment, do it this quarter and see what happens. Come and tell us how to measure and track that part if it is, possible. So that's one, but yes, my question remains, give us I would really love to and figure out examples internationally, Africa, or even in India, where people are doing a good job, and especially in financial services, because that's of interest to me.
okay. Thanks, Deepali, thanks. I think we still can take one question. This side of the roof. Rahul, sorry, yeah.
Hi, Rahul from Lodha Group. I have two questions for Deepak and Anisha. Number one is that most of the discussion which is happening wherein the platform is extremely promising when it comes to low involvement or mid involvement businesses and low value such as QSR, retail, so on and so forth. Are there any examples wherein it has high involved categories and high value? That is one. Secondly, when I'm talking about customer profiling, which caters from, say, age group from 15 to 25, 25 above, so on and so forth. While the mobile platform looks so potential in terms of going so aggressive, how one should approach for a older age group, which you say can't define, but if I were to just mention, say, 40 plus, so on and so forth. So if you can just give me some information on that. Sorry to ask a typical client question, sir.
No, so I'm going to tackle the first question because it's easy. I mean, the second question because it's bloody easy, all right? So the first one is on the evolved categories. I'm going to let him pick because I find that tougher. So in terms of segregation, at least, and I'm only going to talk from us because we know that, and I'll let Deepak talk on his experience. The way we reach out to all customers, and the analytics on ours is slightly different, right? Because it's based on buying patterns, what you're buying, so we understand what you're doing versus prepaid, postpaid. We can do that much, and we've seen that the older category is not very still pull-based. It's more push-based. So we do pull-based and push-based advertising. Pull-based being you actually have to input certain things. As you said, the user getting more and more evolved, smartphone or feature phone, but you actually go in and pull it yourself. We're seeing the older crew is pretty happy getting the push-based advertising. And we still do a lot of that where it gets broadcast out to you via push SSD and the other mediums. And that's, we're getting more of a response rate from the older. I don't know if 40 is considered old because that's just, some people might beat me up here, but you're seeing that, they're more acceptable to that.
See, when you speak about that part in terms of the audience, so keeping in mind your product category, very limited audience which is browsing from that category right now, because those guys don't really move very quickly. They are late adopters to new technology. So you're not going to find too many people there, browsing and experiencing something there. In terms of now, if you say, if you want scale users for your specific product category, hypothetically there could be an example that in cities where you're looking for your prospective consumers, you're targeting some BlackBerry users, those users don't really browse, so how do we really engage with them and reach out to them? The only way you can do that is through SMS marketing. I don't find that generation of 40 plus people adapting to mobile internet technology at a scalable number which you would want to spend significant amount of. Having said that, as far as certain devices, when we speak about tablet browsing, some of these users do have tablets. Plenty of them, plenty of these tablets are owned by these guys, but their kids and everyone browses on it. So you still have a very, very small, very, very limited audience on mobile internet, which is, See, on advertising, so that's really where his category is. When he speaks about high involvement or products which are priced upwards of 2 lakh rupees, he's talking about selling reality to consumers. So you'll find alternate ways. Mobile internet may not be the appropriate way for you right now to get scale in your segment.
Okay, cool. I think I need to hand it over back to Namita, and if there are questions, then all these panelists are going to be available, so catch hold of them. Thanks for being lovely audience, and please stay back for next session by Alok, and catch you soon.